Welcome to Padres Talking Padres. Two Padres are here, and we got a GoFundMe account to buy the Padres. So obviously, we need around
Yeah,
$2.5 billion. I think that's what
yeah,
they think they can go for. Uh,
yeah, something like that. It's the net worth, and then you got the revenue stream and all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
But
So if you can get it, I mean, that's good
yeah,
money.
yeah, just tap us on the shoulder. We'll.
But when we started this podcast, when I set it up, it was because we got a new manager. Had no idea until 5 hours later that, hey, Padres are thinking about selling the team. I go, okay, well, whatever. And then so I don't know where do you want to go first? The manager, the some of the rumors out there, because
Yeah, we got a lot to
this
cover, but
yeah, this is
let's go with the
rumor time of
manager.
year.
Yeah,
All right,
let's go with the manager.
let's go with your take. When you first heard Craig Stammen was going to be the manager, what was your initial reaction?
Well,
Hey,
I
Oz.
think I don't. Yeah, and I don't think I'm different than anybody else. It was a surprise only because you had not heard his name before.
Right.
So I think a lot of people, were expected to hear one of the three that we'd heard about. Pujols and Niebla and was it Hunley,
Yeah.
and so the surprise wore off really quickly. I was fortunate enough to be driving, and so I got to hear the news conference and got to hear some of the talking and everything. And then, got home, read a few articles, and as the day wore on, I'm like, this is a really good choice. I got to say, I'm really happy with the choice, and especially when you break it down, Jack, into nobody had managerial experience. So if nobody has it, then we would have been saying this whether it had been Pujols, Hunley, whoever, right? Unless they would have brought somebody else from the dark that had managerial experience. But you got a guy that's been on the club. He's been in the organization. He knows the clubhouse. He's I don't know. I That's my take. I'm looking forward to it, and of course, just like anybody, we'll see the results, and then probably might take 2 years or 3 years before you finally settle in and say yay or nay.
Well, if he lasts 2 years,
Yeah.
um, history's not that on the Padres side. I once they came out and said they had Pujols had a 9.5 hour meeting
Yeah.
and they didn't hire him, and the days went on. I go, okay, it's going to be someone out of the blue. I go, it's going to be someone out of the blue, and then I went, Craig Stammen, huh?
Yeah.
I was kind of like, huh, and my reaction was, okay, he has no managerial experience, and of course, a lot of the candidates, most of them didn't. Um, and I was at first, I was like, this is not a rebuilding team. This is a team that's won 90 games the last 2 years. I wish they would have gone out and got somebody who had experience. I mean, you're coming to a team that's still good, and there's learning curves, and how do you deal with you used to play with some of these guys. But having said all that, I'm a Padre fan, so I will root for anybody who's the manager and anybody who's a player. So I'll put my confidence behind him. I mean, he's a smart guy.
Yeah. I
But
think the thing for
my
me though,
initial my
Jack.
initial reaction was disappointment because I you don't know. I think it would have been better to hire maybe like I heard Bochy was out there, and the rumor was he was interested in the job. You hire Bochy for a year, and you make Stammen the bench coach so he can learn. I mean, I don't even know if he's managed a little league team.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I have a few sources, and one of them said that Bochy did not want to come back. He was never in the mix. He never wanted to come back.
Well, someone on the
Yeah.
radio said Bochy was interested in the job. I can't remember who it was. One of the national guys. It was on MLB Network on the radio side. But again, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been hired. Again,
Well,
I don't think Dave Roberts will go. He's a tall, big guy. He's not. Dave Roberts isn't going to go after him. So, well, like I said,
yeah,
we'll wait and see what happens. I mean, again, like I said, I was kind of disappointed at first. I was like, oh, God, really? I mean, to me, I look at the Padres job as a job that managers would want. You got sellouts every night, but then you see that, but then I'll get to it in a second. You have sellouts every night. You have good players. A lot of them are young players. You have basically next year, you just really need a first baseman coming in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, every position is pretty much solid. You need some starting pitching. Your bullpen is phenomenal, amazing. But I just thought that there'd be bigger names looking for the job. But then you go, oh, the team's going to be for sale.
Well, I think there's a couple things there, Jack. Number one, for the very reason you said about the big names are already here and things like that. They tried that with Bob Melvin. It failed miserably.
Well, he was the wrong choice.
Well, and that's just it. Again, we don't get to do the interviews, and as far as working for somebody that you played for, I think the manager, what I call the relationship with the players is a lot different than the general workplace that you're in and everything. And having said that, I managed people that managed me, back in my day when I was working. So I looked at it as an advantage because we both knew each other. And look, if you're the right kind of manager, it's not like you're going to need that anyway. Yeah, I don't think this is a team where you're going to see any manager come in and have to yell and scream and get in somebody's face and everything. I think,
according to Dodger fans, it's the most cancerous.
Well, they just don't like Manny Machado. They don't like Fernando Tatis. It goes on and on.
I'm just saying, Dodger fans think it's the most
I meant to tell you before this, it's like, I really didn't want to talk about that team at all. Like, they're in their own world. Congratulations. I'm focused on the Padres and doing the best that we can. But one thing that I did coming out of this hire, and now with the news today, and this is why it's hard to separate the categories, because now with the news today, I think it was also an aha moment for me, because you start thinking from my sources that the Pujols deal was a done deal. But now you hear this and you wonder, was it Pujols that said, you're going to have new ownership soon? I don't think I want to get there. Are you going to go back to your non-free agent signings, things like that?
Yeah.
Was it the Padre organization saying, we don't want to make a long-term more expensive, because that was my understanding, is that price differential between Pujols and the club was holding it up too. He wanted to be paid as a experienced manager, and the Padres looked at it as, well, no, you're not. You're a Hall of Fame player, but that doesn't translate over to here. And I also think about guys like Pujols who's making $15, $20, $30 million a year. You go to a manager, and I think the highest paid manager, if I'm not wrong, is like Aaron Boone at like $6 million. So
no, Dave Roberts is. I know you don't want to talk about him, but he makes $8 million.
Well, but the bottom line is, it's much less than what you used to make as a ball player.
It's probably more work.
Yes,
not physical, but mental.
Oh, mentally, obviously, yeah. So I think that goes hand in hand. But I really do. The reason I like Stammen is I want somebody that he stated it best. He says, who wouldn't want a job where you're trying to make your best friends the best ball players they can be? And so he has that kind of relationship. Joe Musgrove came out almost immediately and said, it was a surprise, but wow, what a great choice. Like, this guy's salt of the earth. And I know writers have tried, but nobody can find anything to say bad about this guy. He says, hey, I'm not perfect, but it's like nobody's saying anything about, they said he was a leader, and a leader from the bullpen, not a stopper either. This is a guy that was a middle reliever, and he carried a lot of weight in that clubhouse. So
again, the only negative is he has no experience.
Yeah.
So again, you look at the Padres, there were 3 games out last year. Is learning on the job going to cost us a chance to win the division? Again, it's all these things were going through my head. And I said, well, and in the end, I just said, well, he's hired. I always liked him as a pitcher. I mean, except for that time he gave up 4 home runs in a game. But other than that, I always liked him as a player. And so he's our manager, and I'll support him 100%.
Yeah. I think the other thing is managing game. I don't think it's rocket science. If you've been in baseball for a long time, you know how to run a game. You know how to get the best, and that's why you got coaches too. He's got Niebla, who's probably going to get a new title out of this. Maybe
He did.
associate manager or
He is.
whatever.
They've already said he's the associate.
Okay, and so you got the guy that's going to handle the bullpen and the starting pitching, and you write the lineup card. You communicate with these guys what you're doing. The platoons and stuff like that. I just don't really think there's a rocket science part of it that to how to manage a game. I would say there's more to learn about learning a clubhouse, and again, that seems to be his strength, is that he is well respected within the clubhouse. He's played with a lot of these guys. He knows them very well. I think it's a plus, and I think that's the things that, and don't get me wrong, Jack. I think Nabla could have done the same thing if they would have put Nabla up in this position. He could have brought Fritz up to pitching coach and got a new bullpen coach. So I don't think that was so much that none of the other candidates were good candidates. I just think that they kind of the old, well, I only got one job to offer, and so I'm going to take this guy. And credit to Nabla, he showed up for the press conference and stood up for Sam Stammen right there, saying, hey, this is the guy, so let's go.
Well, Niebla seems like a team guy, team oriented. I'm sure he was disappointed, but he'll get another opportunity. I mean, it'll happen. Yeah, but like I said, I think the ownership question kind of threw a wrench in it too. I think that was
sure came part of the play. I mean, you can't help but think that a week later this comes out, that this just like out of the blue. You had to think that during all this process that there was things going on, and that kind of leads us to our next thing, which is what's the impact on the organization because of this ownership possible change, because we got to make sure we read it right. They're looking at the possibility of selling now.
Right.
Look, the Twins and who else was it? There was 3 teams that were on the market.
The Angels.
And they pulled them all off because they couldn't find a buyer, So who's to say they're going to be able to find somebody? And according to what the season ticket holders got, which I got a hold of, and I think everybody has read it now, they say they're committed to making sure that if there's a new owner, that it's somebody that's committed to doing the business they're doing right now. Can they hold their feet to the fire if that happens? No, but you can still do your research and make sure that they're going to have the wherewithal to do it.
Right.
And as somebody on the radio said,
you don't go out and hire a guy like Tom Warner.
Yeah, but you listen to the guy on the radio, and I agree with him. It's like the Seidlers have never lied to us. I mean, there's never been a time where they put something out and then didn't do it, or didn't do did something against what they said. So. I don't know them personally, but I just kind of feel comfortable with this, and I think in the long run it's going to be a good thing. I really do, because this lawsuit, I think, would be hanging over the head of this organization for years to come. And what better way to get rid of that than to just find another owner that can push us forward.
Right.
Again, and we don't know who it is, so the old devil's in the details, right? I mean, let's not go get another Tom Warner. Let's get somebody that's actually gonna forward the vision, so to speak.
Well, like I said, I think the hard part's going to be is they don't have that big TV contract. I mean, I think that's the one. When you look at the Padres, you go, man, if they only had a huge TV contract. Well, they probably wouldn't sell the team if that was.
Well, wouldn't you think though, Jack, that as a buyer, if you're trying to buy something and it's already all there, you're paying the full value, because they could put it in your basically put it in your face and say, we got everything all set up for you. All you got to do is just ride the train. Whereas, if you get somebody that's brings in an ownership that says, hey, I think I could work out a TV deal, and I'm going to go from 2.5 billion to 3 billion overnight. I'm going to bring in more revenue. They're bringing in 500 million of revenue every year. So, you get the net worth of the team somewhere between 1.5 and 2 billion. So I don't know. It's kind of like if you go buy a house, if if you're somebody that's good with your hands and you want to buy a fixer upper, well, you can buy it a whole lot cheaper and fix it up the way you want it. So somebody will probably look at it like that and say, no, that's not a negative. That's also a positive, because I think I've got connections where I can get us a good deal. So
Yeah.
and it's going to take a couple of years anyway. I mean, this is not going to happen before spring training. These things take a couple of years. They got to go through the whole process of finding people, or having people talk to them, and they got to go the whole interview process. And they got to go before the owners when when they're even suggesting that somebody comes in and buys it, so they can do their background check. This is going to be a story for at least the next 1 or 2 years.
Unless they already have somebody in place, but I think it would have came out already.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of rich people in San Diego. I mean, Joseph Tsai that owns the Jersey Nets.
Yeah.
In La Jolla, he's worth like billions of dollars. Everyone's like, "Come on, Joe, buy us." But the Nets.
But it's not all about the money, though, Jack. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I think you're down the right path. I don't want somebody that has exactly $2.5 billion to come in and buy the team.
Oh, so I can't buy him.
Yeah, but I want somebody with that vision that not only has the money but actually wants to improve it. That's the one thing guys like Cohen and the Guggenheim Trust and Peter Sadler had, that vision of like, no, I'm still just going to spend money. It's not about losses or gains. It's knowing that this, as it's already proven, it's doubled in value since Peter Seidler bought it in 2012. So in 13 years, it went from 1.2 billion to 2.5 billion.
And again, they're hugely successful. San Diego loves them.
Yeah,
San Diego's obviously they don't have football anymore, but it's obviously Padres town. Even with soccer going on and everything with that.
Yeah.
But my biggest fear was because I was like, I remember Ray Kroc. And I'm trying to remember back then, because he signed a lot of big contracts, as we know, and he had to have been using his own money, because the Padres didn't make a lot of money back then. They barely were on TV. They had a radio deal. Revenue was not that big in Major League Baseball back then. I said he had to have been using his own money when he signed, because he had gobs of money. I mean, and he liked to win.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of that, but Rick Kroc was a pretty devious person, but he was also very greedy. So I doubt if he was using a whole lot of his own money. He might have from the start, but as an investment.
But I think that he built something.
Yeah. Well, he saved the Padres, so that alone got him some attendance. Just people being thankful we still have a baseball team.
First time they ever went over 1 million fans is after he bought the team.
Yep, you're right.
So anyway, but
let me ask you a question, Jack, and because we want to get to everything here. So, what is your opinion on the impact it might have on Prehller's extension?
I think it would have a big impact because obviously something's going on. He hasn't gotten one. And I think if he was out in the open market, he'd be snapped up like that.
Yeah.
I know a lot of Padre fans don't like him because he's, the trades, he goes for it every year. Unfortunately, that's, once you start that, you have to keep going. If you want to keep competitive, not like the team up north where they can do it all. He's got to keep trading these guys. Now, I look back, would it have been better just to say, okay, we're going to keep all these stud players we have? And, you never know. But
possible studs.
But a lot of them, some did turn out to be pretty good. But, again, I like Preller. I've always liked Preller, and I want to keep him because he knows talent. He has an eye for talent. His drafts are always good. I mean, I'm sure this year we'll be drafting to get Paul Skeens. So we're going to get all these draft picks to take off. But I just hope, I'm sorry, I got the hiccups. Any owner that comes in cannot revert back to the old ways, because baseball will be done in San Diego, because people don't want to go back. There's no way. I mean, you're going to have bad years. You're going to have years where you don't make the playoffs. but you want a team that's at least trying, not the Tom Warner days where you said, "Hey, we're being pretty competitive. Let's trade everybody."
Yeah.
You know,
I think
hey, Michael.
the other thing is though, Jack, what I'm kind of aiming for is both ways. Does this change Preller's attitude towards wanting to stay with the Padres?
Yeah,
So, he's got a small part of ownership. He got that under Peter Seidler. Um, and you sometimes sit back and say, well, I kind of like making deals and I like finding free agents and stuff like that. And am I going to have the support from the new owner, both from a financial standpoint
right.
and also the, wherewithal to be able to pretty much be hands off and say, hey, just check in with me when you're going to spend a lot of money. But for the most part, go out and do whatever it takes.
Right.
The parameters, here's your salary cap, so to speak. If you're going to break that, let me know, kind of things like that. But yeah, I think the other thing is that is there hesitancy on the Padres organization's part? They say they're going to operate like normal, but is there going to be a hesitancy to say, well, we want to extend you, but we're only going to extend you one more year, because we might have a new owner coming in and, we don't want to tie them. And, that's part of the sell package, and it might be they look at it the other way around. It's like, well, man, if we can get him for the next 4 years, the person buying it's like, hey, hey, you got one of the best GMs around. This guy's a wheeler and a dealer. So, I mean, I don't think either one of us are going to come up with the answer, but it does strike me as like, well, wait a minute, what happens with that possible extension or not?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's funny how the bad news. It seems like the bad news comes at the wrong time. I mean, it's just like I necessarily bad news, but it's like news. Here you go. What's happening now? Because like I said, I think it's talked about. I don't know if I said it on air before, because my wife goes, "Haven't the Padres had a lot of owners?" And I go, "Well,
Yeah.
yes." She goes, "Compared to other teams," I go, "You know what? Yes." I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, they've had several owners, and most of them have been bad.
Yeah.
But we have had some good owners. So that was, like I said, that's my biggest fear, is getting an owner that is, I mean, you look at the Chargers. The Chargers went from Gene Klein to Spanos, and he's like going, "Oh, from crap to crappier."
Well, and there's also no guarantee, right? I mean, I think we had two really, really good owners in our lifetime with John Moores and Peter Seidler. And what happens? John Moores goes through divorce, has to sell the team. Peter Seidler dies, and now we're talking about.
Well, Ray Kroc. You have to put Ray Kroc in there too.
Ray Kroc saved baseball in San Diego, but I don't think he was a great owner.
Well, he helped get the Padres into the first World Series playoffs. He was putting money into the team. And what happened? He died, and his wife took over, and she didn't care.
Yeah,
she didn't sign.
Didn't have the heart. Yeah, she didn't have the heart into it. Yeah.
So. No, she was like, why are we paying these guys this kind of money anyway? But I'll put Ray Kroc in there. I love Ray Kroc. Again, because he saved the team. We wouldn't be talking right now. We'd probably have another team by now, but it wouldn't be Padres. But yeah, that's my biggest concern is who is going to take over, if anyone. They could decide to keep the team. It could be, a lot of people are speculating they don't want to deal with the potential shutdown next year, lockout.
I'm sure a lot of this is the angst because, in fairness, and I really truly kind of step back and say, in fairness, John Seidler and the brother, they didn't buy this team. This was not their dream,
They're Dodger fans.
Yeah, but I'm just saying though that Peter Seidler was the guy, he was the guy. So you take over somebody else's dream and you're okay with you're okay. Yeah, thanks, Michael. Yeah. I guess I don't want to buy it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think my biggest concern is what. Let's talk about the media, because in no way, shape, or form, like I said before, Jack, this is going to take a couple of years. It's going to take a good part of the next year to even find somebody and get them through the whole, rigmarole process. Yeah. And so my immediate concern
And if there is a lockout, there will be no.
yeah, yeah. But my concern is what's this going to do to the impact of free agent signings? Because it's not just about the money. Because again, Sidlers have not lied to us, and they say it's business as usual. And we know that there's really not a whole lot of more money for free agents. And we talked about it the last time we were together about it's not just the money that's the impact; it's the loss of international pool money. It's the loss of draft picks. So there's more to consider than just, hey, they've got another $20 million to spend. It's more about what's that going to do if you get these top tier guys, especially those comp pick or the guys who've been offered compensation,
like
like
King
Dylan
and
Cease or
Cease.
King, guys like that. And when you do that, then that's when you start losing stuff. And of course, that's the big guys. That's the guys that you really, as any fan would say, oh man, I'd love to have that guy. I mean, who wouldn't want, Schwarber and Alonso, and I'm going to go get Kyle Tucker, and then we're going to take these two Japanese guys and bring them over, and it only costs us $200 million. Unlike our friends up in the north, we don't do it that way, and more power to them. I've given up trying to even convince any of those fans that what they're doing is bad for baseball.
Hopeless. They suffered through the McCourt years. You don't understand.
Yeah. and so the financial impact does kind of hit you, because I don't see, nor did I expect, I guess anyway. I guess I'm kind of answering my own question, because I didn't expect the Padres to go out this offseason and buy a bunch of free agents. I really don't. I think
even though all the rumors have us like we're the number one option. What's that? The one Japanese hitter.
Yeah.
And I'm like going, well, if it's true he can't hit anything above 93 miles an hour,
yeah,
then why would we want him? And then
that's where Preller comes in, because he's seen him. I'm sure he's been over there and watched him, and whether or not he's a viable option and things like that. And these sports writers just put out stuff that they want. Jack. I mean,
well, I've seen quite a few of them. I mean, it's kind of anyway. Then there's another pitcher, but I've already said, I go, want to sign here? Fine. I'm not paying any attention to it. You want to sign here? Go ahead. But I'm not gonna be Sasaki again. Where it's like, okay, he's but there's some secret handshake deal he had with the Dodgers the whole time. Not doing it. If you want to play here, play here. Not I don't care.
No, I mean that's true. And at a certain point, that's kind of unfortunately the position we're in as one of the other 29, maybe 26 or 27 teams. If somebody else wants them, they can afford it. We can't.
Because not only do you have to pay his contract, you have to pay
the posting fee. Yeah,
the posting fee, which they said would be like $17 million. I'm like, wow.
I don't know. It's depending on the contract.
His contract, but someone said if he makes a certain amount, which he probably can, it'd be like $16.5 million, something like that.
It's like 1% for up to
I said, man,
5% up to 10 million, and 2% after that. Yeah,
it's just crazy.
But it's crazy. But and again, those teams that can afford it, then they're going to get the top tier guys, and once again, bring along that nice lopsidedness that we all like.
Yeah.
But it's like I like our core. I really do. I don't think we need that much. So I'm not. Again, I'm always welcome to see a Soto come into town, or Dylan Cease, or whoever it is. Of course, I'm a fan. Of course, I want that. That's why I don't blame those fans up there. It's like, of course, bring on more people. How, as a fan of a team, can you sit there and go, oh no, we've got too many now?
Yeah.
But
according to them, they played Moneyball all season. That's how they won.
Oh yeah. So. To me, if you bring back, if you find a way to bring back a King, if you can find a way to get somebody, an O'Hearn back or anything like that, that's enough. That's plenty. I don't think you need to go get Dante Bichette. I don't think you need to go get Kyle Tucker.
Well, I don't know where you put Bichette anyway.
Well, the thought is play him at second base and
Second
move
base
Jake over to
first.
move Jake over to first. Yeah, that's an easy one. Yeah.
Well, if you afford that, I mean, but he's going to make.
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't expect it. I'm just saying, yeah, who wouldn't? But
See,
then ideally
I
probably going
I'm
back to a
still on
third
the
base anyway.
Get Josh Naylor and put him at first base. That's
Yeah,
my.
he's going to be expensive though.
Yeah, I get it, but
Yeah.
and then
Well,
there's
it's
been
not the
rumors.
guys I don't. It's not that I don't want those guys, Jack. My point
I get
being
it.
is I
I'm
don't
just
think
saying
we can get them. Yeah.
if we're gonna get like I said, if the Japanese guy, they're saying we're gonna put him at, we could put him at first base because he's not gonna play third base with Manny there. I go, why would we pay this guy all that money when I know Josh Naylor can hit Major League Baseball pitching? That's the guy, because odds are we're like number one to get him. I go, why would we do that?
Yeah,
that makes no sense to me.
I think the Padres, just my guess, I think the Padres have more of a chance of getting like a Ryan O'Hearn for a 3-year deal for $40 million. I don't think I'm putting it out there. It's now on YouTube forever. I'm putting it out there. I don't think that the Padres sign anybody over a 3-year contract, and I don't think it's going to be anybody that you're just going to go, wow, I can't believe we got that guy.
You're probably right. I mean, but I like O'Hearn, but he was okay. I mean, he didn't really do a lot with the Padres. His overall stats were like, oh, okay. I mean, it's nothing to write home about. But
you could listen to the rumors that says the Padres are interested in bringing Arise back.
Yeah, I saw that, and I said, come on, why would you do that?
Yeah.
I mean, why did the team from up north win the World Series?
Yeah, power. Need some power.
And so you're going to bring a guy back again that doesn't have any power? If he came back, I'd root for him. Yeah. But I was like, no, come on, let's move on.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, because I think those are the rumors that are only substantiated by the fact that, if he's willing to come back at $8 million a year versus the 15 he made last year, well then, you're always, let's put it this way. I mean, Preller's already shown his hand many, many times, and it's worked out sometimes, and sometimes it hasn't. Don't be surprised if there's not some of these $2 million a year guys that come into spring training to try to win a job. And
just so they're not over 40, okay, and they
that's what you get when you're paying $1 million.
Not over 40, and they haven't done squat in 3 or 4 years. It's like, okay, you can only get so much blood from a turnip, right? You can't get any more. And
but sometimes you get that turnip that actually turns out good. And again, I give them credit. Solano and Peralta.
Yeah,
they weren't like ridiculously good. They were just good at what you expected.
They were a good fit.
They were good at what you expected them to do too, And this year, those guys didn't work out. Jason Hayward and Gurriel they didn't work out. And again, they were all 4 of those guys were shots in the dark. It just so happened 2 of them came good 2 years ago, and the other 2 didn't do good at all. The only thing I've said for pertaining last season is what a lot of people said. Why do we wait so long to say, okay, it's 2 months in, let's cut them. Like let's get.
Well,
they did with Gurriel, but they kept hanging on to Hayward. I'm just like, why? Why
you
are
can
we?
Go back. You can go back and check the tapes last year. I was like done with them in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
When we were winning, I'm like going, all right, these guys just don't have it anymore. They just don't. Anyway, that's water under the bridge. I was right. And everybody else was wrong. Yeah. But another thing too, I saw rumors about the Padres trading for Roman Anthony from the Red Sox. I go, why would the Red Sox do that?
Yeah,
because they have an overcrowded outfield. Then you had the rumor.
They're not just going to give people away.
I know, but but these are supposedly Bob Nightingale. Nightingale, whatever his name
is. He's right up there with Ken Rosenthal. So yeah.
And then the rumors came out about trading Tatis, and I'm like going, well, he has a no trade clause. And I said on Twitter today, I said the only way he's going to waive his no trade clause if the team that's taking him says, rip up my contract and you got to give me a new one, because he's not going to play for $340 million for another team.
Yeah.
There's no. I mean, we're looking like $340 million.
The thing is about Tatis too. You go back 3 years ago and, and 4 years ago, and he has made it very clear. I want to be a San Diego Padre for
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
So to your point, the only way, and me and Michael were talking about this today up at the casino, having our daily, Padre talk. And the only way that him or Machado or other these guys go is if ownership, new ownership comes in and basically starts gutting the team, and they go to the powers that be and say, I need to get off this team. If you guys aren't serious about winning, I want to go. Yeah, I signed up for what Peter Seidler had in his vision. So I think that's the only way that these guys would ever go in and say, tear up the no trade, go find, here's the list of 5 teams that I'll accept, and go see what you can get for me. But
well, you wouldn't get crap for him.
I just don't see that happening. I don't see that. Oh, come on, Tatis, Machado.
Oh no, Tatis, you would. Machado, Bogarts, you'd have to eat a lot of that contract.
Yeah, I think you'd be surprised. I think San Diego Padre fans are just way too hard on these guys. Like,
no.
I had a conversation about Tatis with somebody online, and they were talking about how he had a terrible season, and I'm just like, so I quoted all the stats. I'm like, I think you're being ridiculous. He was asked to move to leadoff. He walked a ton more, stole bases. He still hit 25 home runs. He scored 111 runs.
Platinum Gold Glover.
What do you want? Like, I just don't understand people. Like, you really think that Tatis and Machado and Bogarts and Merrill are the problems on this team? Like, let's get real, folks. They are not the problem. They're the solution.
No, my point is Tatis is what, 27?
Yeah.
Going to be 27. He's tradable because he's young. You have Machado and Bogarts who are on the other side of 30. And there's only so many teams that can afford those contracts. That's the problem. I mean, there's a handful of teams. The Yankees could do it. The Dodgers could do it. The Phillies, the Mets. But you think the Pittsburgh's going to trade for him, and the Marlins and Tampa Bay, and
you can say that about
Cincinnati.
But you can say that about any free agent.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the problem with baseball, though, is you only have so many
these
teams.
Contracts are a lot better than what you think they are. I mean, if you go look at some of these contracts, compare them to the ones that are being given out, there's a lot of them that are like, yeah, that's maybe not a steal, but that's a pretty good deal.
Well, they were talking about, I was listening to the radio last week, and they were talking about Skubal. And they were saying about an 8-year contract. I go, why would anyone pay him 8 years? He's already 30 years old. Yeah. I go, there's no way I'm paying him 8 years. There's no way I'm giving him 8 years. And they said the problem with it too, if Detroit does pay him, 8 years, $40 million, whatever the going rate's going to be, they won't be able to go out and get anybody else. Exactly. They don't make that much revenue. So he said, yeah, the Yankees went out and signed Cole for whatever they signed for. But they also went out and got Rodon, Fried, and boom, boom, boom. They were able to go out, and it's like the other team up north. They're able to go. It's like when they say, "Well, Snell was out there, anyone could have signed him." Yeah, but they couldn't have signed everybody else. That's the problem that they don't get.
Well, we lived through that with our old Padre teams, and that's what started with guys like Hosmer and Will Myers. We signed one, and then 2 years later we signed another. That's the rate we had to go because. Small market does that, and so that's no different than, a lot of the teams, let's call it the bottom half, if not more, bottom 2/3, where they can go sign one guy, but why would I spend $50 million on one guy? To your point, and then what else do I get? Well, I don't have enough to get anything else. Okay, so that's good for one game. That's one game every 5 or 6. Every 5 or 6. Well,
they've been talking about Skeens because he's on Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh's pretty pathetic, and he obviously wants to win. He's a young player. He knows his value. Like you said, is Pittsburgh going to sign him for $50 million a year, like you're saying? And every 5th day, yay, the stands are full every 5th day because Skeens is pitching, but the rest of the time because they won't have money to pay for anybody else. Yeah. I mean, he's going to have to be eventually.
It's the problem with baseball, and again, this is not whining and crying. This is the problem with baseball because The facts say, oh, go, you can sign these guys. Your point with Snell, you can sign these guys. Yeah, I could sign one, maybe two, but unfortunately, there's probably a handful of teams that can sign 5 or 6 of these. And
Yeah, if I'm
look,
paying those guys,
my proof is still in the pudding. The Dodgers in Game 7, God, you got me talking about the stinking Dodgers. The Dodgers in Game 7 rolled out 4 pitchers that were paid $1.2 billion. $1.2 billion.
and they still should have lost.
And who can do that? Who else can do that? So,
Yankees.
Point, that's my point. And the bottom line is you cannot buy a World Series. I will say that. You cannot buy a World Series. You can buy a huge advantage to win a World Series.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I always have to make that clear because I get accused of saying, oh, they didn't buy the World Series. I was like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you can buy a huge advantage to it. And again, I do I've done rotisserie baseball. I know you have in the past. And you go up to your buddy's house and there's 10 of you sitting around and you get $260 a piece and you got to bid and make your team. And I loved it. It was so cool because everybody's got the same amount of money. You got to figure out, do I want to go get Barry Bonds?
It's a level playing field.
Yeah. And then I take that analogy and I say, okay, so now go to your buddy's house and, oh, by the way, Jack, you get $260, but I get $700 to buy my team. Okay, let's get started, guys.
Yeah, I'm not going to even join that league.
Right. So
that's an argument I've been using for a long time ago.
Why
is anyone playing that league?
Why should these bottom tier teams spend their revenue, their profit on a useless exercise?
Yeah.
And the bottom line is people talk about the percentage that the Dodgers are spending. That the Dodgers are still making over $200 million every year. And yes, that's because they spend a lot of it. They could make more. But the bottom line is their $200 million is more than about a third.
But that revenue those totals are from 2024. That's not this year.
Yeah.
This
but
past
the point
season,
being
I'm
is
sure
that
it's
they're
a
still
lot
making
more
a lot of money. They're making a ton more money.
Yeah, they're not losing money.
So big deal. If I'm a millionaire and I'm spending $800 million, $800,000, for my business, I'm still making $200,000 every year. Whereas the small market over there has got, he's making, $200,000 and he's spending 80 or 90 to try to keep up. You can't keep up with Walmart. You can't keep up with Target. You can't keep up with those guys.
You're preaching to the choir. I mean,
I know.
I don't get it. But that's what I'm saying with those contracts. It would be hard to get because they're like Tatis any team's going to go after Tatis because he's fun. He's exciting. He's fun to watch. I mean, he's a popular player around Major League Baseball, even though he had some issues way back when. But especially defensively, he is fun to watch play in the outfield. And I was trying to tell people, they were saying, "Oh, this guy should." I go. Players didn't run on Tatis. They don't run on him.
Right.
If they do, it's a mistake.
Right.
They're going to be gunned out. He just,
like the defensive back in football. The guy that only has one pass aimed his way each game.
Right.
And he's defensive, he's named the defensive player of the year, and everybody goes, why? He doesn't have the stats for it and everything,
Yeah, Oz is right about that too, for females to check out.
Oh.
But I just, there's a lot but then I want to talk about rumors I've heard. They keep saying Mason Miller to the starting rotation. That's what they're hearing. And I'm like going, why?
Yeah.
And people say he would have more value as a starter than a reliever. I go, because I've heard Maury Hone too. I go, why would you take a bullpen that's your strongest going into right now? If you look at the Padres team, the strongest they have is the bullpen. That's when you go, that's a lock. That bullpen is money. Why would you take Mason Miller out of that? Who's your closer now?
Well, I get caught in between on this, Jack. I'll be honest with you. I agree with the best bullpen. I wouldn't trade our bullpen for anybody's, and I really thoughtfully say that. The problem is that there's such a shortage on starting pitching that we can afford. You might have to do something. You might be forced to do something. Now, who it is a whole different thing to me, because Where I will agree with you is I think that Morahone and Miller just stay put. Work with somebody else.
Yeah.
Find Hoeing or Reynolds or whoever it might be.
Well, that's who I would
David
go with.
Morgan or something like that. Where I pull my earplug twice now. Find somebody like that to work with. But yeah, don't take the. It hurts either way because I'd love to have all those guys in the bullpen. But fact of the matter is, if your starting pitching is bad, which we've had that experience sometimes, you never get to the bullpen, and that's not a good thing either. So,
because I don't see them re-signing King as much as I want to. I mean, what are you going to give him 5 years? I mean, he's.
it's going to be. What is it? The contract that people are saying out there is 5 years for 125 million. I believe is what the
125 million.
Yeah, 25 million a year, basically.
25 million a year.
That's the estimate. Yeah,
it's a lot of money.
Yeah. So
for a guy that didn't pitch much this year.
Well, and the bottom line is me and you have had this discussion before. I don't like signing long-term contracts for pitchers. It just makes me edgy, So I think the point to me is still the same. Let's go get the guys that can burn up 5 or 6 innings. We don't need. I mean, love to have Skubal, love to have Wheeler, love to have Skeens. Yeah, no doubt about it. Again, I'd be an idiot if I said I didn't want those guys. But for the price, give me the guy that can go 5 or 6 and let the bullpen take over. We've done that very successfully, So, we start running into problems like we did this year with the injuries. The injuries is what caused our demise this year. Even though we won 90 games, that, King being out half the season, Darvish being out half the season, Musgrove being out the full season, that's the strain that caused
Adam getting hurt. Jason Adam getting hurt.
That's the when you start losing starters and you start losing the length of their starts. I mean, I'm not making excuses. Still won 90 games. I think we did dang well considering all that. But yeah, doesn't mean I want to necessarily walk into next year in the same situation. No, So I feel good about Vasquez. I feel really good about Musgrove. I feel great about Pivetta. Congrats for getting some 5th place votes for Cy Young.
Yeah.
And now we got to find a couple of guys. I don't know who they are.
I'm hoping it's not Waldron and Sears, especially Waldron. I just don't think he's the guy.
Sears? I think Sears and Hart weren't they both?
No, Hart was jettisoned.
Okay,
but I don't think Sears was.
I know I've read Hart. I think he's an arbitration, so I think you're right. I think he is still.
But I didn't see anything in him.
Let's put it this way: we don't really, based on what we saw last year, we don't want to see them again either.
Because
I like.
It's funny though. Hart was actually pretty good in the bullpen though.
He was decent, and he had a couple of good starts. It just, but man, he's just that slow lefty, and he just too many times he was just getting teed up. I still like to see Sean Reynolds get a chance. I like Sean Reynolds. I think
Hoeing was he was not
Hoeing will be back
year.
full time, So to me, there's a couple of candidates to go after and see what you can do. And again, you go pick up a guy that's maybe just the 4th or 5th starter historically, and say, hey, let's give a couple of these guys a try. You just don't break the bank on them. And again, we fill the void at first base. How we have to fill it. I think with the length of our lineup, the way it's looking this year, hesitate to say this, but I think we can afford a 9th hitter that's not that great. I don't want it, but Fermin can hit 8th easily. And theoretically or statistically, that's our worst hitter now, and that's saying something. I mean, the guy's got some decent pop. He did very well, I thought. So. I don't want to go get a raggedy first baseman, but maybe well, I'm just saying, don't.
No, I know what you're saying. It just sounds
find that middle ground, but I think that's part of. I would rather spend money on trying to get one starter than I would about trying to get a first baseman. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, so nobody's. I mean, they're free to sign right now, right? But nobody's
Yeah.
signed.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
no,
won't see any signings for a while. It's usually
yeah,
they're at the GM meetings, which usually just has to do more with rules and stuff like that.
right, yeah,
Winter meetings come in December, and that's when you'll hear a little bit of noise. But with so many of these guys now, it seems like the agents they've got are doing more of the Boris tactics of waiting until February, March before the serious guys get serious and say, oh, we're gonna sign. Um, and it'll be interesting to see
well,
what the
obviously, too,
proposed
the
lockout or the ensuing lockout is going to do to contracts this year. Because I know if I was an owner, I wish it was. I know if I was an owner, I'd be really hesitant to sign long-term contracts right now. Not actually not the long ones, like the 8 and 10 years. I'd be good, but the 2 year or 3 year, I want to get my money's worth. And it's not that I'm going to be paying those guys during the lockout. But that's, if I sign a guy to a 2 year contract and the second year gets washed out, well, I got it, man. I didn't get what I really wanted out of it then.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough time. I mean, it's just baseball. I mean, whether people want to admit it or not, baseball has to make some changes. Something has to happen, and I think the one side is going to really dig in this. I personally, I would rather just baseball keep playing. I don't want to lock out, even though I'm on the side that says something has to happen, something has to change. But
Yeah.
I'm too old for that, to lose a whole year of baseball. I would mess it, and I messed it before when they would when the lockouts and strikes happen. So I don't want to see it, but
Yeah.
I don't see how it's going to be averted because the top teams are not going to give in, and the bottom teams are like, hey, like you're saying, yeah, I could go spend $50 million on Joe Blow, and then I have nobody else on the team.
Right.
I'm not improving the team. That's the problem.
Right.
Whereas like football, like I've always said, people say, well, look at Patrick Mahomes. I go, yeah, Patrick Mahomes, if they didn't have a salary cap and revenue sharing, which is, I think the key is the revenue sharing, not a cap. But the revenue, if they didn't make the same amount as everybody else, Patrick Mahomes would be playing in New York.
Yeah. And the other thing is with the NFL, and I think the NBA is the same way. You have a salary cap, but you also have leniency if it's somebody that's on your team already. Because that was the big deal about, and of course this was negotiated. The players doesn't always pay off. I mean, you look at Luka. Luka got screwed. I'm not gonna feel sorry for the guy, but he got screwed because he could have been, if he'd have been with Dallas another year, he could have signed the $70 million a year extension. And now that he's been traded to the Lakers, I think he can only go to like 40 million. Only, but the point is like, okay, wait a minute, you just screwed me out of $30 million a year for the next 10 years. No, it's a shame, but I do like the fact that if you draft somebody, so let's use Jackson Merrill as an example, and you have a salary cap, we don't, but if you had a salary cap where you could say, I can pay him twice as much and not have an impact on my salary cap. I will be above it, but that second portion doesn't go against me. That way, to me, the players get what they want. It may not exist in free agency, but at least if I stay with the same team and I signed another contract with them, then I can stay under the cap.
Right.
And probably
there's ways to
start it somehow, but I don't know how you start it, or because you got guys who've already been on 3 teams, and it's like, well, how does it apply to me? But
exactly. I mean, it's complicated, and again, like I said, if they just had, I think, straight revenue sharing, I think that's the answer. And then you have to have a certain, you have to spend a certain amount of money. I mean, it's anyway. But I forgot what I was going to say. Dang it! I'm getting old.
Well, we're getting close to our end here, so
but it's I'm looking forward to the off season. Again, I don't think it's going to be. We got kind of spoiled there for 3 or 4 years in a row. It's like it wasn't if we're going to sign some. Who are we signing? Who are we signing this year? It's kind of like but you have with the Hugh Darvish thing. I wish they could work out some kind of, because that's a huge That's $42 million. He may never pitch again.
Well,
Yeah,
that was money. The way I look at it, though, is the way they probably look at it. They already accounted for it. It is what it is.
but I'm saying if they could somehow
well,
free up that money on the payroll tax,
well,
because that's what hurts.
but that's something that every team has to go through. The possibility of the guy, still counting against the luxury tax, but he's not playing anymore.
Well, that's why I say you pay
It's
him, but
unfortunate.
you make him assistant general manager. He's the most expensive, most highest paid assistant general manager. Because that to me, that's the first thing that should be. Small market teams shouldn't have to pay the payroll tax. If they're willing to spend, let them spend.
Well, they
But
don't.
like you said,
They don't pay if you look at it, Jack, there's only about 7 teams that are paying the luxury.
But the Padres are one of them that are paying it, and they can't.
Yeah.
They don't want to go over because they'll pay too much. So it's like,
yeah.
I mean, like the Dodgers, it doesn't matter what they're paying.
But I don't disagree with the argument to a certain extent. But how do you measure that? Because I don't think you can tear it off like that. The bottom line is the rules are out there, and you can either afford it or you can't. And that's what's got to be fixed because the rules right now don't mean anything, and that includes the Padres. Obviously, they've gone over. They're willing to pay money for nothing, just for nothing. Like, here's $10 million. We're giving it to you because we went over. And the same thing with the Dodgers. The Dodgers have gone over by $200 million. It's like, here, we'll write you a check. Is the check good? Just take it to the bank. I'm sure there's plenty of money.
Do you need 2 pieces of identification?
So it's a part of my point has always been. It's like, yeah, for some people or for some organizations, money's not really enough of a penalty. Now, to me, if you structure a system where there's more to it, like international money and draft picks and all that, where it's like, no, you start going over by 20 million, you start losing a draft pick every time, and every 10 million after that, another. You got to make it hurt to fix it. And so I think that's something that the players union could get into, where it's like, okay, well, you're penalizing them, but you're still okay with paying us the money. Yeah, a little retribution because you lose. Yeah, we can live with that. And I don't speak to the.
Well, they would balk. They would balk at first.
They balk a little bit, but at the bottom line is, like, as long as you can sign us to big contract, that's all they care. I mean, let's get down to the root of it. The players just want to make their money. They don't want to be hindered by anything that says I have to be structured that the maximum I can make is this. They just don't want that. And
yeah.
Part of me says,
and then finally, I wanted to close on the gambling problem. You got Clase and what's the other guy's name?
Yeah, I had a bet on that game. No, I'm just kidding.
But to me, when it came out that they did it for $5,000, and so I go
making $10-15 million a year, and you're willing.
Clase makes $4.5 million a year, and he was due to be a free agent, and he would have got a big contract.
Yeah,
and the other guys, I think league minimum, but still $700 something thousand. I go, why? There has to be more to the story. There's no way you're risking going to jail. 65 years to go to. I don't like what they did, but you can kill somebody and not get 65 years in jail. Yeah. And there people are saying, well, they're trying to make a example out of them. I go, the problem is there's more than just those two.
Oh no, it's the tip of the iceberg. And I've heard, and I agree. This has been going on for years. It's just become more easy to do. Yeah. I'll tip my hat to MLB for once, because I don't do it very often, where they said they worked with the gambling people and basically said, we need to bring down these pitch bets down to $200 maximum. That way we're disencouraging people to do this. Will it stop it to the 100%? Probably not. But that's the problem, was when guys were able to make, which I can't even fathom. I'm a gambler. I go to the casino. I don't mind putting a few bucks down. I think the wager I've ever made is $25, and that's very rare, But I just can't even fathom putting money on a single pitch.
That's someone who has. That's someone who has.
That's a
has
problem. I mean, that's
That's
a
someone who has
problem. Yeah.
an addiction to gambling because
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I gotta double my bet. He's gonna throw a strike. Again, it just.
Well, we had a friend years ago that
Oh,
did
yeah.
that. We used to bet football games, and if he lost on Sunday morning, he put more on Sunday afternoon. If he lost Sunday afternoon, he put even more on Sunday night. He lost Sunday night, he put some wacky 2-team parlay together on Monday night to try to make all of his money back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And he was usually in a bad mood.
yeah. Safety.
Yeah. But yeah, we're laughing. You guys don't know what that means.
Yeah, sorry.
Trust us. It was funny and sad at the same time. But yeah, I hope no Padres show up on this because I just think
we don't need it.
Yeah, there's more out there.
Yeah.
Again,
We
I
just
think
don't need it. We've had a good run, and now it seems like we're having the last couple of years have not been the good run anymore. It's just a little bit here, a little bit there. I know teams go through it. You go through stages where things are going well, and then whoops, now things aren't. Look at the Texas Rangers. Win the World Series, then can't even make the playoffs. I mean, so it is baseball. It's why we love it. Because there's nothing certain. There's certain advantages you can get, but that doesn't make it certain. I'm looking forward to the offseason. I always do. No matter all the things that we talked about, I'm still optimistic Stammen's going to do a good job. I think the Seidlers are going to find us a good new owner. I think AJ is going to sign an extension. I think all is right with the world. Go Pods.
All right. Can't argue with that positivity. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready because now it's like, okay, you got football. And then,
well, that's why I like football, but I like football too. And so what I do like about it is that when it gets done February 1st, you are 2 weeks away from spring training. So for me, that's always been the nice link, the link to the start, to the end of football. And boom, in 2 weeks, you start hearing spring training. You get all juiced up and excited. And then I like watching a little bit of college basketball. March Madness gets done just about the same time baseball starts for real. So,
right.
Yeah, just got to get through these couple dead months because right now, I don't know what to do with myself on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Fridays.
Yeah, if there's no college basketball game, I'm just like,
yeah.
I get to go to bed earlier.
Yeah, well, catch up on your sleep this year so you can stay up for those, that's winning games.
Yeah, God, I stayed up for the Dodger game.
Yeah,
but actually, a couple times I went to bed and I fell asleep for a half hour. I go, all right, let me see who won. I go, oh my God, it's just the 12th inning. Come on. And then I'd stay up for a couple more innings. I go, oh, this is ridiculous. I got to get up early next. And I go back to sleep. I go, it's the 16th. What is going on? And how many I mean, if I felt for the Blue Jays fans because it reminded me of being a San Diego fan.
Yeah.
So many chances to win that World Series. And you could look at.
Well, you can say the same thing about the Dodgers because they ended up winning it, but there was a lot of times where they didn't get through and they didn't score and they didn't. So yeah. I mean, look, I did.
But I hate the Dodgers.
I admit that I did not watch. I think I watched maybe 2 innings of the whole thing. I kept track of it here and there, but I really didn't care. And I truly mean that. I really didn't care. But from everything I read and everything that people say, they say it was a really good World Series. It was exciting. I just didn't want to watch that one team win or lose. I just didn't care.
Yeah, I didn't watch full games. Like I said, I don't think I started watching that game till like the 8th inning. And then I'd watch a few innings. I said, okay, I'd go back and forth and flip channels around. And then I got to the point where, okay, all right, now I'm invested. I have to finish watching it because I've watched so much of it. But there's so many times I was like, the Blue Jays manager, I just questioned a lot of his decisions. I was like going, I don't get that.
Well, we always question when we lose. I mean,
Well, I was questioning that. There was one play that a lot of people go back and forth on, and that was the play where he didn't get a big enough lead at third base. And I'm like going, you got to score on that play. You have to.
So I disagree because I did see the video of that. The third base coach is pointing to where he.
It wasn't his player's fault. It came from the dugout. They said, "Stay close. We don't want you to get doubled up." I'm like going. I go.
A lot of ex-players came to his defense and said he did everything exactly.
Yeah, it wasn't the player. I would have. I wouldn't have slid. I would have ran through it.
No, but they talk about the strategy. Everyone I read said you cannot get doubled off there. You have to be close enough to get back to the bag. You have to. Because
Muncy was.
I guarantee you.
But Muncy was 13.
If it would have been a line drive and he got picked off, you'd have been saying the same. The other thing around. Why was he so far off the base?
No, Muncy was 13 and a half feet off the bag.
Yeah.
The guy was like 5 feet off the bag.
Yeah.
He just gets a secondary lead another 2 or 3 feet.
But the coach is pointing where he wants him to
go. I get it. I said I blame the coach. I disagree. If you get a line shot doubled up, it happens.
Oh no. But, I refuse to believe that that's the way you would be talking about it, Jack.
No
offense.
You can have your opinion, but I said at the time, first I was like, why would you slide? Just run through it.
And you can contest that because some people were saying you should have did a head first. Some people
head first.
Well, the funny thing is, and I may be wrong, but I could have sworn years and years ago, there was a study done on how fast you could get there feet first or head first, and feet first won.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would have ran through
he went face. No, I'm talking about sliding. Sliding feet first is actually quicker to the bag than head first.
I'd have to see that because when you slide and your big butt hits the ground, it's like an anchor. You slow down, and plus you see it all.
I'm just going by time studies.
I'm just saying too with how many times we watch a challenge, and what happens with the guy's foot? It bounces almost every time.
So that's why I said you could argue then. What I would give you could argue because he was going to home plate and the plate is down versus a bag. You might be able to win that argument as far as that, but yeah, the bottom line.
Also, he had an oven mitt on his hand.
Yeah,
it was this. We're talking this much.
Yeah,
but I said at the time. I put on Twitter right away. I go, why did he slide? I just would have ran right through it. I would have ran. But that's just me, and I stick with that 100%. I won't even argue
with that.
Yep, we're out of here. Yes,
see you around the GM meetings, maybe around the GM meetings. With the
we'll be back eventually.
Yeah,
we'll let you know if you subscribe to our channel.
You get the
you'll get a notification if you ask for a notification. It will notify you that hey, we're going to be back.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe Jay might show up.
Maybe Frank McCourt's going to buy the team. Hey, Sammy, we've had several Frank McCourt owners for the Padres. It's that sad. But anyway,
I think you're Frank McCourt and trump you with Tom Werner. So
yeah, Tom Werner, the original C.N. Harold Smith that was so bad, indicted by the IRS and was selling the team to Washington. Really, you got to know. You got to know. Anyway, all right, guys. Talk to you later. I got another podcast to do. Take care,
guys.
Everyone.
Take care. Bye.